Hello everyone, myself Kshitij Maheshwari, and I welcome you to this tutorial video on Kaggle assignments. As you know, the Kaggle assignment is an important part of our MLP course. For every Kaggle assignments, you would be provided some rubrics which you need to consider while creating your notebook. On your screen, you can see the rubrics which are provided for the assignment. It contains the criteria, the weight assigned to the criteria, what marks would be given if you have not completed the criteria, and what would be done if the criteria is fulfilled. We'll have a list of rubrics which you need to follow when you're creating a structured notebook for submission of your Kaggle assignment. There would be several points in this rubrics which you need to consider and follow them so as to ensure that your notebook attains maximum possible marks. Let's go and see the competition for which we are going to create a structured notebook. So this is a competition which is a dummy regression competition. In this, you are provided with a training and a testing data set, and your aim is to find regression type result or regression type label output for the provided data points. You would be evaluated based on the metric of R2 score, as mentioned in the evaluation manual. Let's go to the data tab and see what things are present in my dataset. This is the description of all the columns present in my dataset. Briefly, I can tell you that this is an airline dataset. There is information about the airline, flights from which this flight is flying, the departure city, the departure timing, number of stoppages it will take, the destination, about the seat class, and other things. And price is your variable which you need to find the answer for. Using the input metrics, you will be creating models, and based on those models, the created model would find or return the price predicted for that specific data point. Let's move towards a structured notebook to see how we create a structured notebook and how to adhere to all the rubrics which are mentioned. In this notebook, you can see that I firstly imported all the necessary packages that I'll be needing. I've mentioned what all stuff these packages would be required for. Next, we are reading the dataset using the base code which is given by Kaggle to us. As discussed in earlier videos, you remember that if we run this specific cell, the datasets would be loaded into my Kaggle notebook environment. I have now converted these loaded train dataset and test dataset into data frames using the read CSV method of pandas. Here you can see the training dataset. Now, a baseline model is created, which is a dummy regressor. This was discussed in one of the earlier videos as well. Now begins the part of having a look on the dataset and getting some inferences from it. For that specific thing, I have taken into consideration 7 important pointers. These 7 important pointers would be covering a lot many of your topics and mentioned stuff in the rubrics as well. Shape of the dataset, having a look on the sample data points from the dataset, then using the info attribute to find the data types, various information, and count of different columns from our dataset. Utilizing the duplicated attribute to have a look for the duplicated values in the dataset, getting rid of the duplicated values, followed by which I've utilized the isInA attribute to find the number of missing values in my dataset, then the total count of the missing values in my dataset. After that, the descriptive statistics for the training dataset is present, the correlation values between the various features of the training set. These all are found, and again, we have outliers detection. For detecting the outliers, a simple function is being created in which we have utilized the 25th quantile, 75th quantile, found the interquartile range, the upper bound, the lower bound, and then define the conditional statement to extract out the outliers. You can see that the count for various outliers is present to us. After this basic look at the dataset is done, and we are moving ahead with exploratory data analysis. As mentioned, we have 3 kinds of data analysis, which include univariate, bivariate, and multivariate. We have followed a mixture of all of them. Firstly, separated the numerical and the categorical features using the select type attribute, and then found the name of those specific columns which follow this thing. Then here is a simple function or code block which is written to print the value counts for various categories present in my training data. This thing will follow, and you can see the count for different columns like airline, flight, source, and thus would be followed for different columns. Here are the inferences which we have gathered from the above analysis. Next, we have some depictions and visualizations in front of us. Here is the plot for the numerical features so as to see what kind of distribution they are following. This is one heat map which is plotted to show the correlation stuff. You can see the intensity of colors show something about the correlation which is present between different features in my training set. Next is one bar chart which is created. This specific bar chart, you can see that we have the count of planes by stoppages for each airline. So the airline name is mentioned, and then these different colors show you the number of stoppages which are being taken into consideration and how much is the count of flights for different airlines for these number of stoppages. Here's one scatter plot to show you the duration versus price by number of stoppages. So a U is created for the number of stoppages, and then the different data points which you are seeing show relation between duration and the price. Here's one box plot for the prices of airlines for different classes that we have. You can see different plots and boxes present for different classes. Blue ones highlight the business class and the yellow ones highlight the economy class. This is done for all the airlines. Here's one pie chart to show the market share of different airlines. Now we are done with the exploratory data analysis. All the inferences has been noted down. We will move towards feature engineering and pre-processing of our dataset. Feature engineering, what we are doing is firstly we have removed the ID feature. Then if we want to drop out the outliers, we have dropped out them as well. Here I have separated the input features in the target column into different X and Y data frame and panda series. Here's the mentioned shape of them as well. Now, one function is defined to make some change in the flight value count. You can see that for various counts which we have created different categories. For those having count more than 300, we have called them frequent. Those having count between 300 to 100, we have called them seldom. And apart from that, all are considered rare. This function is applied using the apply attribute on the data frame. After this thing is done, we have mentioned about pre-processing. It includes the step of imputation, encoding, and scaling. You can see it's mentioned in what specific feature and column, what kind of imputation, encoding, and scaling would be taken into consideration. Now, to implement this encoding, imputation, and scaling, we'll be utilizing the column transformers. You can see in front of you is the code block for column transformers which are written for different tasks of imputation, encoding, and scaling. Then all three of these column transformers are stacked into a pipeline. You can see the final output which looks something like this. We have mode imputer, mean imputer, median imputer, then followed by it we have one-hot encoding, and then min-max scaling and standard scaling. These three separate column transformers are stacked into the pipe. A dataset will pass and get processed as per the steps mentioned in this pipeline. Next, we have separated the training and validation set, and then the data set is transformed. So you can see that for splitting, we have utilized the train test split method. Then the validation set is exactly 20% of the entire training data set. Now this is being transformed. Your model is getting fitted as per the pipeline, and data set is actually changing as per that pipeline and the steps mentioned in that pipeline. Fit transform method is applied on the entire training set, whereas whatever learnings are taken from the training set, those are just applied as transformation on the validation set. You can see the transformed set, how it looks like. Make sure that the transformed set include only the numerical values, because when model training begins, the model will take into consideration only numerical values and no categorical value. Next is the step of model training and performance analysis. As per the rubrics, we need to fit in 7 different models at least. So you can see I've fitted different models: linear regression, SDD regression, lasso regression, ridge regression, k-neighbor regression, support vector regression, decision tree regression, tagging regression, adaptive boosting regression, random forest regression, the multi-layer perceptron regression. For all these models which are fitted, you can see here are different evaluations. So what is happening in this evaluation? We are just finding their R2 scores. When these R2 scores would be evaluated, you can see you will find the mentioned R2 score for all the models you have defined above. This thing is followed, and then I've combined all these results into one specific code block. When this code block would be finished, you'll see proper graph would be plotted in front of you. Here are the inferences that you will get. Since I've executed this notebook once and we have one saved version, I'm having these results mentioned with me. I'll show you how the completely executed notebook would actually look like. Next task is to take into consideration the 3 best models out of all those baseline models you have created above. Then, those having the 3 best results, I've taken them and done hyperparameter tuning on them. Since a dataset could be a large one, to ensure that the hyperparameter tuning takes relatively lesser time, I'll be taking into use the randomized search CV. It is relatively faster and preferable to be used on large datasets. On your screen, you are seeing the parameter grids for random forest regressor, for bagging regressor, and for disease entry regressor. Here's the model fitting using the randomized search CV. So I've defined a cross validation of 5 with 10 iterations for the randomized search CV. You can see. This is done for the random forest. This would be again done for the bagging regressor and for the disease entry regressor. The results are mentioned as well. So we have the best parameter set of values for them as well. After that, we have found their evaluations. These are their performance evaluations on the validation set. Again, I've consolidated them in one place and plotted the graph. Just to check for voting and stacking, I've also tried them. Voting and stacking reversals are also part of ensemble techniques, and they utilize number of models rather than one to create some sort of output or predictions. Here's voting in front of you, and this one is stacking present in front of you. You can see I've also taken into consideration their scores as well. After all this thing is done, we will be doing the basic processing which was done on our training set so that it aligns exactly in the same manner with my test data set as well. So I've dropped the ID column, I've changed the flight attribute to flight labels, transformed my testing data set as per the things or the steps which I followed in my training data set as well. In next step, what we will be having the output result or the transformed result for my test data set. After you are completely done with the transformation of your training and test set, and you are sure of which model you need to use, you can write this last code, which what we are doing is getting predictions as per which of the model we want or we think is best. And I'm using the stack regressor. Predictions are taken on the transform test set, and then a summation file is created, just like we did earlier. The summation file is converted into a CSV. This is very much structured notebook should look like. Now, when you are done with creating a structured notebook, you will again follow that standard procedure of saving your notebook. As you know that whenever we save our notebook, it starts running once again. So your entire notebook would be executed once again. But this time what will happen that your notebook would be running on the cloud server of Kaggle. So even if you close your tab after saving your notebook, the execution will keep on happening. As soon as the execution would get completed, you'll receive a notification from Kaggle that your notebook has been completely executed. So before saving a version, it would be highly advised to separately run every code block which you have in your notebook. This will give you a clarity that there is no error present in your notebook. When you are sure that there is no error present in your notebook, you can actually save it. When you save your notebook, it would actually look something like this. So you can see for that specific notebook which I've showed you, the structured notebook, the runtime was 1 hour, 6 minutes and 32 seconds. This is very large because all the models were actually running in my notebook. The output file looks something like this. You'll be able to see everything which has happened on your notebook. Let me show you the results and the different models which were created. We're able to see the ED in the portion and the graphs of visualizations. Let's move towards the model building portion straight up. So here's the model fitting portion. You can see different models are fitted here. Here are the different R2 scores which we have obtained for these models. And this is one of the graphs you can see. So as per this graph, you can see that the decision tree regressor, Bayesian regressor, and the random forest regressor were giving me relatively good results. And that is the reason I'm taking them into consideration for the hyperparameter tuning portion. As discussed, we have created different tuned models for these three specific regressors. The best parameters are taken into consideration, and then for the model evaluations carried out on the, you can see these are the scores obtained. From this, we can see that bagging was giving me the best result. Apart from that, this is what voting and this is what stacking looks like. Lastly, this is my transformed test set, which you can also see that there are only numerical values present. Lastly, a summation was taken into consideration. As discussed earlier, you can save your notebook and then that saved notebook is submitted to the competition. You can see that for the first version of the structured notebook, I obtained a score of 0.972. Same thing can also be viewed on the leaderboard. If you remember, in the earlier video, I demonstrated that my notebook dummy regressor model was returning a score of 0. But for the new notebook which I have created, I am obtaining a score of 0.972. So on the leaderboard, whichever is your highest score, that would be displayed. And for that very reason, I am seeing a score of 0.972 on the leaderboard of the competition. Note that you can actually comment out code blocks in the notebook which you have created to ensure that the runtime is less. You could see the results on your end and then before making or saving any version, maybe comment out all the excess code blocks which are present. Just keep that one specific model which is being taken into consideration while giving the best prediction. This is a good practice which you can use so as to ensure that your runtime of the notebook is not very much. If you see, all the things which are mentioned into the rubrics are actually covered in the notebook which I've shown. Data types, descriptive statistics, missing values handling, duplicate handling, outlier handling, visualizations, scaling of numerical features and encoding of categorical features, at least 7 models, hyperparameter tuning, and then comparison of various models. You need to adhere to these specific rubrics and make sure that all of these are present in your notebook. Why is it so? Because your notebooks would be reviewed by your peers. The next thing which you need to do is the peer review. This is how the interface looks like. You'll have to record a video walkthrough of your notebook explaining everything that you have done in your notebook, just like I did. This peer review is an equally important aspect of the Kaggle assignment. To obtain marks, you need to do 5 peer reviews. You would be provided links for the 5 video submissions of your peers. You need to go through that video submissions, check if all the pointers mentioned in the rubrics are completed or not, and then based on that, you'll give marks and fill the peer review sheet for your peers. After you have done the entire submission of your notebook into the Kaggle platform and then completed the peer review task within the mentioned deadline, you would be eligible for marks. This is how the entire process of a Kaggle assignment looks like. Thank you so much for going through this tutorial video. I hope all the steps are clear to you and you are ready to go for your Kaggle assignment.